Even to this day, even though I've done a lot of work, is indifference, because I had to learn to just completely turn off my emotions, completely turn it off, because you can't have emotions when you're in combat, and emotions equal you getting shot in the face. So it's been difficult learning to how to adjust that back to civilian life.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, I imagine that's why we see a lot of veterans struggle with their mental health.
100%.
Because when you get back into civilian life, you do want to feel your emotions and you want to try to express those in a sort of a healthy manner.
But you don't have the tools for the most part. I don't want to speak for all veterans, but most combat veterans, we don't have the tools when we come back. And either it's because they offer classes, and again, this might have changed. It's been a few years since I've been out the military, but they didn't offer classes that were what's the best way to say it? That were smiled upon. So like they would have training, but if you took the training, you'd kind of be shunned in the unit. So it was like, do I want my boys to be looking at me sideways, or do I want to get the help that I need? Like, well, I kind of have to. I have to work with my boys, so I'm just going to go ahead and be like, no, I'm okay, and just suck it up. And then they get out, and now they're struggling. And again, it might have changed, and the stigma around it has definitely changed since 2016 when I stopped completely doing military things. But yeah, back when I was in, it was a big thing that you can't ask for help. Like if you ask for help, that's weakness. You're admitting weakness. And if you're weak, we don't want you on the team.
It's such a complicated dynamic for a military person and their mental health.
Yes.
Because you are at war, specifically when you're out there, and when you're training to do these things, like that's what you're training for. Now, we might not be at war at this very moment, but that's what they're training for.
Yes.
And so you have to be in control, full control of your emotional state. You have to block out everything else, and you have to be on this thing in the present moment with this, because or else people are going to die.
Yes.
But then there's an aspect that when you're not doing that job, how are we able to then turn it on where we're able to be a full human?
And that's the disconnect.
And that's very hard.
Yes.
And just to say that there's a lot of platitudes that get thrown out. Yeah, mental health matters and ask for help. And yeah, these things are very true. Like this is what I talk about on this podcast ad nauseum. But there has to be the bridge that gets you there.
Yes.
Right? It's like when people say, just love yourself. Well, I fucking hate myself.
Yes.
And you telling me to love myself is like me trying to sprint across America in one day. This doesn't work.
Yes.
But there's a path that could be taken over a long period of time that might work. Just like you became a really good soldier, you didn't just become one overnight.
100% did not, yeah.
We have to be able to tell that to anyone, an athlete who's struggling with their mental health, someone who's done something for a long time and got really good at it. You can do the same thing with your mental health, but you have to be able to start at the bottom of it.
This is good, yeah. This is good.
That's what we have to be able to relay to these people who are elite at anything, because they know that getting elite takes a long period of time. You're black belt jiu-jitsu. You didn't become it yesterday.
Definitely not.
Or it didn't happen overnight is what I mean.
Yes.
It didn't become yesterday. But, so if we could do that with our mental health, like, okay, you have to start here. This is day one. Like, you have to just be able to become aware that you have different emotions. Sometimes you get angry. What do you do about it? Sometimes you get sad. What do you do about it, right? You're just first recognizing that there are different emotions and you don't have to shut them off immediately. Okay, now we go from there. We accept that we have those things. Okay, what's action? Because people, like specifically men, want things to be able to do.
Yes.
Like, how do I do so? Okay, I know that I have mental health. I know that I think, feel, and act, and it impacts my relationships. What are my action steps? Okay, how do I create a plan? Because that's what men need. They need a plan, and they need to feel like they're doing something about it. And so it's different for women. They need a totally different mental health plan because their brain works differently than ours. Their biology and their physiology work differently. So for military women, it's different.
Yes.
But for military men, we need an action plan. Okay, you have to eat well, move well, sleep well, and think well. What can you do each day that might impact those things? And then how can you create a plan of attack? And where can you be 6 months from now? That might work.